Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Essential Health podcast series. I'm your host, Yeji Lee. In this series, we bring you practical and accessible tools to support your well being and to help you navigate the real life challenges that we all face, both at work and at home. Now, in light of Mental Health Awareness Month, we're talking about something that impacts so many people, but isn't really talked about very openly, and that is anxiety and depression and how we build resilience through it all. And to help us today, I'm joined today by Jennifer Nelson, licensed mental health counselor and on site EAP clinician, who has extensive experience supporting individuals with mental health and well being. Thank you so much for being here today, Jennifer.
Thank you, Yeji. It's my pleasure to be with you today and everyone listening. And I know there are a lot of demands on people's time. And so I'm truly grateful to spend some time together today to talk and share about such an important topic.
Yes. So let's start off with the basics. I think that a lot of people have some sort of an idea of what anxiety and depression are supposed to look like, but in reality, it can often be more subtle in the way that it appears. So, can you talk a bit about how anxiety and depression can show up in everyday life, especially for working individuals?
Absolutely. And you're right. They often don't look the way people expect. Anxiety, for example, isn't always panic attacks. It can be a constant sense of worry, feeling on edge, or having a hard time turning your mind off. People may find themselves overthinking decisions, struggling to relax, or feeling physically tense. Depression can also be misunderstood, and it's not always sadness. It can show up as low energy, lack of motivation, or feeling disconnected. Tasks that used to feel manageable can start to feel overwhelming. And so, what's important to note is that many people are still functioning in their everyday lives. They're going to work, they're meeting responsibilities, but internally it can feel much harder. In fact, data from the CDC shows that about 1 in 8 adults experience symptoms of anxiety, and about 1 in 20 experience depression. So, this is actually very common.
Yes, that really resonates. I think especially the idea that you can still be functioning on the outside but struggling internally. So, can you talk about how, anxiety and depression typically can show up in the workplace and why you think they're so often overlooked?
That's a great question. So at work, anxiety might show up as overworking, constantly checking and rechecking tasks, feeling like you can't switch off, or putting pressure on yourself to stay ahead. And depression might show up differently: lower motivation, difficulty concentrating, or feeling disengaged. But from the outside, these can be easy to miss. Someone might just seem busy or having a quote unquote off day. And so another reason is normalization. Many workplaces are high pressure environments, and stress is so common that it starts to feel like the baseline. But the impact is significant. So, according to the US Surgeon General's workplace report, 76% of employees report at least one symptom of a mental health condition, and 84% say their workplace has contributed to the mental health challenges. So, while these are, common experiences, they really shouldn't be ignored.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I think that's such an important point that, just because it's common, it doesn't mean that it's sustainable. So moving on to, the topic of solutions, if someone is recognizing these signs in themselves, what are some realistic ways that they can maybe start building resilience?
Well, resilience really starts with awareness as well as having a growth mindset. So, just noticing what you're feeling in your body or how your thoughts are. Some examples would be, I've been more anxious lately. I feel more drained than usual today. I'm not bouncing back the way I normally do. So, that kind of awareness really does matter. And from there, small strategies can make a big difference. And one of the most helpful things you can do is to create moments of pause during your day, even brief ones, even 3 minutes. Taking short breaks during the day to reset, stepping away from your screen and letting your mind rest. It also helps to reduce the mental load that you're carrying if your mind is constantly racing. I suggest people just write things down if that's happening, getting things out of the head and onto paper. Connection is another big piece of resilience. Talking to someone you trust, sharing what you're feeling instead of holding it all inside, and importantly, not waiting until all those things feel unmanageable. And I also think that's where the EAP can be incredibly helpful. The EAP provides confidential support for a wide range of concerns, including stress, anxiety, depression, work challenges, and more. And it also gives employees a space to talk openly and learn some new coping strategies and get that support early before things do escalate. And finally, a growth mindset would be an openness to creating a concrete action plan with your designated on-site EAP clinician to help you learn new coping strategies to promote your overall health and well-being.
I love that, especially the idea of not waiting until things get overwhelming. So thank you for that, Jennifer. Before we wrap up today, is there maybe one takeaway you'd want your listeners to walk away with?
I would say this, if you've been feeling off, even in small ways, it is worth paying attention to. You don't have to wait for things to get worse to seek out some support.
That's a great reminder. And I just want to add that struggling with anxiety or low mood, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you're human. Everybody, I think, goes through something like that at one point in their lives, and support is available. If this conversation resonated with you, your employee assistance program is there as a confidential resource to help you navigate whatever you're experiencing. So, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your insight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
On behalf of everyone here at Essentia Health, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.